What's up, YouTube? We're back. This is a new segment called Cog-to-Cog, and I am here with Jesus Gonzalez, one of my long-term friends. I think since middle school. Yeah, so it's been a minute. And then Jenny Villalba-Zavala. I just learned her name today, so if I butchered it, I'm very sorry.
It's okay.
And so they are both civil engineering majors in college, and now they work. They're professionals in the engineering field. And Cog-to-Cog will kind of focus on that journey and talk about them and who they are as human beings, as well as anything that I feel that the audience and those that are wanting to get to where they may be will be interested in. And so I'll let them kind of introduce themselves and yeah.
Ladies first.
Hi, I'm Jenny. I'm originally from Bakersfield, California, born and raised in the Central Valley, but I moved down here to SoCal when I transferred as a student for university, and I've been living here since. And I work in the construction industry as a project engineer. I've been in there for about 2 years now.
Cool.
My name's Jesus Gonzalez. Also graduated in civil engineering from Cal Poly Pomona about 2 years ago. That's pretty much it.
All right, very interesting people. So I brought them in today. One, they're very close friends of mine, and also I think that everyone else will be very interested in their story. They have a lot of juice, a lot of things to spread, and knowledge that they've acquired over the course of their life, you know. So I think first things first. And the question why I think a lot of people that are in the position of choosing engineering are kind of like on the fence, you know, they're kind of always considering engineering, or they're considering like physics, they're considering all these other things, right? So I think the most basic question to start with is why should I pursue engineering? And so why did you guys pursue engineering, wherever that journey started for you? Yeah, it doesn't matter. Jenny, you could go first.
So why did I pursue engineering? When I was in high school, I did a STEM camp, and a lot of the leaders there were mainly male, but there was like 2 females, and one of them was in engineering. And I'm just hearing about their story and like how they talk about representation. There's not a lot of women in engineering or in the STEM field, really. So it kind of inspired me to like push myself and try it out. Originally, I was going to do marine biology, but I didn't like the biology side or like the science side of STEM. So I was pretty good at math, and that's why I decided engineering. And yeah, that's why I chose it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So from that moment, would you say that your eyes were always on engineering, or did you have more exposure of engineering post that?
I had more exposure because I did a camp, like that same camp. I did it as a leader myself in marine biology.
Oh, wow.
And my friends, they were doing, one of them was doing civil and environmental engineering. So I kind of asked her about her experience, and I was like, you know what, that sounds interesting. So that's why I decided that route. But I was always kind of scared because I was like, oh, they make it sound so hard. Like maybe it's not for me.
Oh, that's
but I was like, I wouldn't know until I try it. So I ended up just like trying it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then being in Cal Poly, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was your comparison in terms of like that experience from like, oh my gosh, I want to do it in like the camp, to actually being in it?
It was definitely different, and especially because it was right after COVID, and it was like in a new place. I just transferred, and I didn't know anyone. I think like it was harder in terms of the classes, but I really liked it because a lot of people that were transferring with me were kind of in the same boat of like, oh, I don't know anyone. So I made friends quickly. I joined clubs. So I was pretty out there. And I think just making friends and creating like a community helped me in terms of passing my classes, and yeah.
You didn't touch a single bit on math or physics.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, let me tell you then.
I think what I'm leading to is the community that you build in engineering, right? That, would you say that motivated you more than like actually pursuing and getting like a construction job, or like what was that drive coming from?
I guess in terms of the construction side of what like helped me pursue that was we did a competition. It was
Oh.
like a Reno competition,
Uh-huh.
and they have like different teams. I was in a Concrete Solutions team. We were in the same team,
Mhm.
and I
That's how
actually
we met.
Oh,
that is how we met.
Love story. You guys built a bridge and
Yeah.
built some passion.
We did.
Yeah, built a lot of connections.
But the
Uh-huh.
the thing was that I actually was not interested in construction. So funny story.
Oh, okay.
I was like, ew, construction, that's boring. But I always wanted to do civil because, you know,
Uh-huh.
I was like, I want to do civil, but it's specifically environmental. But when I was joining Cal Poly, I saw the emails about joining the competition, and I
Uh-huh.
thought it stood for like civil engineering students.
Uh-huh.
And so, I mean, which it did because there was a lot of civil students in it. But I was just like, oh, like this sounds cool. VDC, they use like softwares that that I was using in community college.
Mhm.
So I was interested in joining that team, but they said no to me. And they're like, oh, but we really like you. You should join this other team. And I was like, I mean, I guess I should just join it just to try it. I don't have friends. This is going to be a great way for me to start like making friends. So that's why I joined it. And like when we started doing like estimating and like learning like scheduling and like just how to read plans, I was like, oh, I didn't know this is what construction is. I thought I would be out there doing like the work.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
great.
like
The perceived
Yeah.
notion of like construction just as the word versus like what you're actually doing right now,
Yeah,
right? Being
yeah.
in just the industry of
Yeah.
construction.
exactly. So
Yeah.
that's how I got interested in construction.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, I'll pause you there.
Okay.
You,
Okay.
yeah, you as well, we've gone through majority of our life together. I would say like 80 to 90% of our life together at this point.
Yes.
So I know a little bit about it, and I know that being in high school, we were both kind of on that same track of like math and science. You know, I was like maybe doing a little bit more like I was in calculus or whatever, and like you were in like pre-cal or whatever. Like, but we were both pushing in that aspects. But where did your passion for engineering come from? Where did that drive come from? In high school, middle school, or before that?
I think it started mainly in high school
Mm-hmm.
because of the people I was hanging out with.
Mhm.
It was you and a few others. Everybody was saying that they were going to do engineering when they got to college.
Yeah.
And I remember wanting to do a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
For a second, I thought about doing culinary arts.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted to go to art school.
Yeah, that's what I remember. That's where I thought you were pushing to.
I was.
Yeah.
But art school is very expensive.
Yeah.
So no.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, mainly all our friends were doing engineering. I know engineering would pay well, so I was
Yeah.
like, all right, I'll do engineering. But I
Mhm.
didn't really know exactly what engineering I wanted to do until probably way later in college.
Mm. Okay.
I remember. So as you remember, I went to Mount Sac
Yep.
first because I
Mhm.
messed up my applications in high school.
That's how it is. That's how it is.
But-
We, as first generation students, we don't know what the freak is going on. So it's very understandable. You know, it's very understandable.
In community college, I met other friends who were like-minded as well, who
Okay.
wanted to do engineering,
Yeah.
and then we started a chapter there of what were they called?
Ship? Yeah.
We started a chapter. I completely forgot. I forgot.
Ah,
I'm
no,
sorry.
it's okay.
I'm
Okay,
so
he's
sorry.
just nervous. He's just camera nervous. Uh-huh.
And that's how I was able to meet a lot more people from different schools
Yeah.
and create a community there of
Mhm.
engineering people. And I think I ran into you probably
Yeah.
a few times.
Yeah, I
with
didn't
that
even
club.
know that you guys were in ship. You and your brother. So there's a twin brother, that couldn't join us today. But he'll be a separate episode. But yeah, definitely. It was surprising to me to see you at that moment where I was like, "What the heck? What are you guys doing here?"
I remember going to an event
Yeah,
and meeting people from your school.
yeah, yeah,
And then I remember bringing up your name. They were like, "Oh, you know Edsel?" And I think you were their mentor or something.
Yeah.
They were like, "Edsel's this whatever. He's great." And I think we FaceTimed you
yeah,
or something because you weren't there. I think we were in a room partying
yeah,
or something.
else. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I didn't
But-
go to that. I forgot what conference. It must have been like an RLDC, which I'm sorry for bringing that up. I don't know.
Oh.
We should be talking about that, but some sort of like connection between the chapters, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember you guys told me, and I was like, "What the heck? Like, what are you guys doing with these people that I know and all this stuff?" It's weird. It's just funny to see all the worlds come together. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think ship was a big part of the reason I chose civil engineering. I remember talking to a lot of different types of engineers, but there was a few that I actually liked what they were doing.
Okay.
In their colleges, I guess, because in Mount Sac you couldn't really do much. It was just networking. I met a lot of people from Irvine and Cal State LA, and some of them were doing civil engineering, and that's when I started getting interested in civil.
Okay. Interesting. So it's a similar aspects where I didn't hear anything about math or physics, right?
Oh.
And it's like I guess what I'm getting at is like there seems to be a lot of thoughts that, oh my gosh, like I'm really good at math, I'm really good at physics, and people that are in that like high school era, that like college thoughts are like, dang, I'm flunking out of this, I'm flunking out of that, right? Well, what part of your guys' jobs right now would you say is math, physics, that type of aspect?
I would say like physics, don't really use it that much at all. Math, like you have to know fractions, like when you're measuring things, and maybe if you're doing like the volume of something, but nothing crazy. Like we don't do anything like calculus or anything like that. So no.
The only real math you need to know is Excel.
Excel. If you know how to use the equals sign, right, and all those
That's
formulas,
all you need. Yeah.
that's stunning. So what would you say to someone that is wants to be an engineer, right? Has that want in high school, but maybe is similar to, like, I feel like a little bit closer to your case, that is toying with math, likes physics, but also likes art. You know, would you recommend them this path of like, I'm between, you know, civil and mechanical engineering, I'm between English, I'm between computer science, like why should I choose civil engineering?
So one of the reasons I chose civil engineering was also because of art.
Okay.
Like I told you, I wanted to do art, but I wanted to do something that made money.
Yeah.
So I was that's when I decided to do. I changed so much. But first I was like, all right, I'm gonna do architecture.
Okay.
Because there's so much art involved.
Yeah.
Like 90% art.
Yeah, definitely.
But I remember checking the unemployment rate, and it was very high.
Okay.
And this was before I went into college.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, not architecture.
Okay.
And so the closest thing to architecture to me was civil engineering. So that's why I was like, all right, this one should be similar. So I did that. And during college, I learned all those programs. I even worked as a drafter while I was in school doing art stuff, I guess, in the programs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I guess that was the closest I got to do art in engineering.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So security played a very big portion for you.
Security played a huge thing in it, yeah.
Yeah, and that money, you know, it's a weird, I don't know if it's a weird notion or thought to say, like, that money and security and all those things, right? Like, it seems to be frowned upon by society if you choose like these things. And you know, leading off of your response, it's like money doesn't buy happiness, but sure as fuck, you know, buys a house, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's great to hear you acknowledge that and not ignore that portion of it, especially coming from the households that we did, and, you know, being in a little bit more of a lower income area and things like that. And then you, Jenny, why should I do civil engineering?
I would say it's very broad. So there's like many things that you can do in civil engineering. Like I feel like you could do either transportation, water, like soil surveying. So if you're like wanting to do something that has many things that touches upon that and you just don't know what to choose, I think civil engineering is a great choice.
Okay.
And then you can just narrow it down once you get closer to in terms of like, oh, what kind of job do I want to do? And that's what internships are for, in terms of like getting that experience and narrowing down like your options.
So I'm not too familiar about civil engineering, because like when you in the first response you said, you know, construction, but you're already like a civil engineering major. What other aspects, can you give an example of the other things that you listed, like what you would be doing that would be different than what you're doing right now?
Well, I guess what's different is that I'm not really designing. So that's the difference between construction and civil engineering. We touch on civil engineering. What is the word for it? Like,
it's okay.
Can't think of the word for it. But like we touch on, like we need a surveyor to do the survey of like whatever building or whatever you're constructing. And then we need to make sure like what type of soil we have. That's also civil engineering. So we touch on civil engineering, but we don't do the actual engineering ourselves. We like coordinate with the like with the engineers.
It's like I think your title speaks a little bit more about what you're trying to touch on, right? Like a project engineer. So you're not just an engineer, because you do have to have those principles and understand what is needed for the function of the entire project. But you're kind of, and I think we talked about it, right? Where I'm, and most of the cogs know, I'm very interested in going into product management and project management. And big portions of those jobs are to kind of be interdisciplinary managers for every single aspects of the job, right? And kind of follow the timeline. So would you say that in that similar fashion, your role kind of goes in there and deals with one subject matter expert, right? Like the soil or whoever that is, the cement expert. I don't know, right? I'm just pulling shit out of my ass. But like whoever those different parts of those jobs are, you know.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what I like about construction, is that you touch different disciplines. So we don't only touch like civil stuff. We also look at like electrical plants, mechanical, plumbing. So we have to learn like a little bit about that scope. We don't have to be experts in it, but learn about, okay, what are we building? What is needed in terms of like what codes do we have to follow? What inspections do we need? All that stuff. Okay. So I really like about that about construction, because you're learning as you're going as well. And you're touching different disciplines. Okay.
That's it's super cool to hear that portion, because I don't think that's probably talked about enough. Like I don't know if you guys ever seen A Day in the Life of an Engineer. All these videos that
I do see those.
Google and stuff too. They're like, I started my day at 8:30. I woke up, I went and I got a coffee, went into the office, sent out some emails, sent out some meetings, but they're not telling you what they're doing. And I think that's the portion that bugs me. Because like when I was in high school, I was like, I honestly, honest to God, thought that when I was being like applying for mechanical engineering, I thought I was like 90% of my job was going to be like similar to a mechanic.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's what I thought too when I was in high school. I was like, a mechanical engineer? Ew, like... I don't know. I was not interested in it.
But I was like, okay, I'm going to touch cars. I'm going to do this. I'm going to get these types of experiences, right? And like, why do I need physics? I guess maybe I'll be making new cars. Who knows, right? But like, I had no real understanding of what it goes into it. So that's a very eye-opening aspect. Okay, now that you touched on that, right? We're kind of going into that industry portion. You as people, how would you describe your day-to-day? Are you office most of your time? Are you walking around most of the time? I know that I've seen I don't know if this is okay to say, and you could tell me, right? But I've seen your Instagrams where you're like out there with a hard hat, and I'm not sure what you're doing, if you're checking things, if you're making sure that things are being built correctly,
I'm just telling people what to do.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. Pointing at things. I'm just kidding. Like day to day, I do go outside probably like once or twice a day. There are days where I don't go outside because I'm so busy with like paperwork stuff. And by that, I mean like submittals or like R5s. If there's like an issue.
What's an R5?
An R5 is a request for information. Okay. So if you need like a clarity on like on like the drawings, like, hey, like can you please clarify this detail? I don't think it's like constructible.
Okay.
And you send it to the design team and they respond with an answer. But since I work in with an existing hospital, and we're expanding their emergency department, we have to coordinate a lot with the existing hospital. So there's a lot of paperwork that goes into that.
Yeah.
So there's days where I'm just in the office all the time, which I don't like. I like being out in the field. And when I'm out in the field, I'm checking for, is the work being done correctly? Is it per plan? What inspections do I have today? Did they get done? What are my subs working on? How far have they gone in terms of progress? And like, can the next trade go in to do their work? So stuff like that.
Very interesting.
That's what I do.
Okay, yeah. And then what about you? Because I know you have similar, and you probably worked in closer to that aspect, but I know your position might be different. I don't know.
Yeah, so I used to do the exact same thing she does right now.
Okay.
But recently I got a new position. So it's very different. And right now my day-to-day is, I guess, temporary because it's going to change.
Okay.
So right now I'm working from home.
Okay, nice.
I'm doing... So it's weird because of who I work for, because I no longer work for a contractor.
Okay.
I was working for a contractor. Now I work for a... So I was working for a contractor who did groundwater treatment plants.
Okay.
And I was able to have a good connection with one of our distributors. And so now I work for the distributor. But the distributor is doing something different than just distribute material.
Okay.
Where now they're working with contractors to go in like really early in a project, like before it's even designed, to help with specs and design.
Okay.
That way, when the project is ready to start construction, there's little to no issues. No issues in materials that are being used.
Okay.
The specs are correct. You're going to be using the correct material, and it just helps the project flow.
I see.
The schedule flow, and
yeah,
in theory, you spend less money by spending more money
in the upfront.
In the upfront with us.
Yeah, you're almost like how could I describe it? You're the SME in like preparing the project.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like you make sure that everything that you're about to do, you have the list of yes and no, and you go in there and you're like, guys, you guys thought about using this like type of steel? You can't freaking use that type of steel. Type of stuff. Okay, very interesting. Basically.
But for water.
Okay.
So it's basically from what I've seen, there's a lot of projects are starting, a lot of engineers, when making their specs, they use a lot of copy paste from previous projects.
Bad.
So there's a lot of issues.
Bad.
Very bad.
Yeah.
And I found this out because I would like search a certain spec and I would find it on Google. And I'd be like, oh, this company's using this spec. That should be an original project specific spec.
Oh, interesting.
It's not. They use a lot of copy paste.
Interesting. And so by spec, sorry, because like I could think I was confusing it with industry standards. Like, what are these specs that you're talking about? And I don't know if you can talk about it.
No, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So in every construction project, I guess, there's certain, I guess, rules that you have to follow, and those are the specs. It tells you exactly how to do things, what material to use. It's mainly for material, right? I guess.
Materials, and then it's like for materials, and it'll sometimes have like a quality assurance section telling you like what inspections are required, what vendors you can use or manufacturers you could use for that material.
And these specs are set up by the company or by like some governing body, or
usually the architects.
Okay.
For my project, it's the architects.
Okay. For mine, the projects I work for, it's civil, mechanical, and architects all together making the specs.
Okay, and these. Okay, I see. So they're not. Okay, so they're not specs that's like in the most simple way I could explain it, like some ISO standard. They're like very specific to this project, and some engineer was like, we can't use that because of some like toxic waste thing, or
basically. Yeah. So like, let's say for example, we're installing pipe for potable water. Yeah. There's certain materials you can't use.
Okay.
you have to use
That makes sense.
say like copper or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
You can't just say, oh, use PVC to make this line.
Mm-hmm.
Like no, you have, if the standard says use copper, you're gonna use copper.
Okay,
Mhm.
that makes sense. Okay, interesting. Sorry, I interrupted you.
No,
But-
you're good.
Okay, well, that's very different from what she does now, right? And from what you used to do. This path that you're going on, and now we're starting to push a little bit further into like, and I don't know if you've thought about this because I know you just started it, right? But where is this gonna lead you? Do you think that this is a position that you know that you're gonna be at, and you don't have to say like anything specific, but that you're gonna be at in the next like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, or is this something that's like, let's see what happens?
So I'm gonna be in this position for 3 years.
Okay.
Because that's what the project's gonna last.
Okay.
But even before I got the position, it was clearly told to me that this is very experimental. So again, it's a distributor.
Yeah.
And they're trying to do more than the competitors.
Okay.
So us being involved early in a project and during construction is very new. And this contractor that we're working for was the first. The contractor and the city were the first ones to say, okay, you guys can work on this project early on.
Interesting.
If this project goes well, I have more work.
Okay.
If it doesn't go well,
Yeah.
I don't have more work. My position changes. And they told me I would still be a project manager, but it would be very different to what I do now.
I see.
I would basically be working from home, working on projects from afar.
Okay.
Not that involved.
Okay.
And they told me that there was a risk
Yeah.
in this position.
Okay.
I guess.
Okay.
But if it goes well,
Yeah. Then
more
you're
work.
good. You're
Yeah.
golden. Yeah.
I'm golden.
Yeah. Okay. Let's hope for more work, right?
Hope so.
That's cool. Okay. Very interesting. Being such an experimental position is interesting because it doesn't give you the typical guidance or like the typical roadmap that that I know as a mechanical engineer, right? It's like you go level 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you go into like either senior or you go to principal or whatever. You go into the STEM or the managerial route, right? And then how about you, Jenny? Where is your you as a project engineer right now? And is there like levels, or is it like you want to get to project engineer manager, or what's that route looking for you?
So right now I'm project engineer. The next level would be senior project engineer.
Okay.
And since I started at my company, I had set a goal with my manager that I wanted to be a senior project engineer by the end of this year.
Oh,
so
wow.
I'm hoping by the end of this year I get promoted, but we
cool.
shall see.
Yeah.
And then after that, it's either assistant project manager or assistant superintendent.
Okay.
I'm interested in the superintendent route, but I'm just like a little unsure because I can see how.
do you want to say what a superintendent?
Superintendent is like what I say, but. Some people may think this is not like the correct way to like put it, but it's the way that I think they are. It's like a party planner. So you gotta like, you gotta coordinate.
That's a fun way to coordinate.
You gotta coordinate like the people bringing the tables, la comida, la banda, all of that, to come together all at once. But I mean, in construction, not everyone is going to come at once, but coordinating everyone and the work so it can flow and you can complete the project on time.
Okay.
So you're like mainly in charge of the schedule.
Okay.
So you're pushing and pushing to make sure we're meeting the schedule and we're not going into negative float, right?
Negative float. What do you mean?
So it's like you have like float, which is like days that you still have free in the schedule, but once you hit negative, it means, oh my gosh, like
you're tight on time. So it's basically whether you're on time or not on time.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. And then as a PM, a project manager, you're like an accountant. You're like managing money. And I've done a lot of the stuff that like PMs do because my senior project engineer, to my coworkers, they both have showed me like a little bit about what they do in terms of like what a PM does. So I'm like, oh, this is interesting, but you're mainly in the office, so I kind of don't like that. I like being more out in the field, and that's what a superintendent does.
Okay.
So that's why I'm interested in that route. But we shall see.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Well,
I think the cool part about being a project engineer for a contractor is you get to see, you get to do both jobs you help the project manager and you help the superintendent. So doing that will help you kind of like decide, oh, I want to go this route or this route, type of thing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's true.
Okay. It's still a little bit, I think, blurry to me, and maybe I'm not sure if you guys can clarify. The big difference between a like superintendent, which seems to be like a person that pushes in terms of project manager versus superintendent. Like one is handling the coordination between all the teams and one is handling the timeline between all the teams.
So
I guess.
Superintendent manages the coordination and the timeline.
Okay.
Project manager manages the budget, the money, the cost, if there's any change orders, stuff like that.
Okay.
So they're like that's why I said
all the contracts.
Yeah.
All the contracts.
Yes.
Oh wow.
So because when you're working with as a contractor, you're not the only one doing the work.
Mm-hmm.
You're hiring subcontractors, smaller contractors to do certain work.
Oh.
You're doing contracts for material as well.
Okay.
So you're dealing with hundreds of contracts for sure.
Okay.
So that's what the
yeah. So you're like almost a person that will be also negotiating the business aspects, or no?
Yes and no, because from what I've seen is like when we do bids for like a certain scope of work, whether like let's for example concrete, we'll have 3 different subcontractors.
Okay.
And then they kind of like see, all right, they want to get the cheapest one, but they want to see why also the others are charging more.
Yeah.
Like what is the cheapest one missing that they're not capturing? So they'll kind of like negotiate that. Like, hey, like can you also include this in your scope of work?
I see. Yeah. Negotiation. A lot of negotiation. That's cool. Interesting. How do you feel that your people skills are, it's a common misconception, right? I hope that engineers are bad people,
So definitely, okay, so I don't know. I have friends that are engineers and they're very like social. I think it just depends on the people and but I have been in events where we invite like our structural engineers, the plumbing and mechanical engineer to like a bowling event, and I was trying to talk to the structural engineers. They're pretty awkward, but they're like nice people, and I still try to keep conversation with them.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, I'm like whatever about people that are awkward, so I'm like, whatever, I'm gonna keep talking to them. But there are some people that can be like, oh my gosh, they're so awkward. Like, are they so weird? And I'm just like, I mean, it's like whatever. But
some people are quiet. Some people
yeah, I mean, it just depends on the person. So that's what I have to say about that.
Oh.
For me, it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder. I'm a very quiet, awkward person. So,
quiet.
So in my previous position as a project engineer, in the beginning, I had a very hard time going on, like having phone conversations.
Oh, okay.
Because they give you're on the phone
like
all the time,
24/7.
24/7. You're talking to everybody, everybody to schedule anything, to literally for anything. When I started, my people skills sucked. I would write down exactly what I would say in my phone call.
Oh my gosh.
Think about it for half an hour. And then like type the phone number and then just stare at it. I'm like, fuck.
Oh my gosh.
Or like, all right, this is what I'm going to say.
That's
and
intense.
then I would be on the phone and I'd be shaking and it'd be scary. But I would say like a year in, completely different person.
Okay.
And the people in my team would tell me, they're like, dude, you're a different person from when you started. Because I wouldn't talk to anybody or anything. And at the end, you kind of have to start like, I kind of like acting like the boss to like the people in the field. Yeah. So you have to know how to talk to them, know how to talk to your vendors, to the subcontractors, create all these relationships. So you got to be on the phone. Some of these conversations aren't like the nicest conversations you're gonna have.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a schedule.
Customers,
things are late, so you kind of have to talk to them. So after like a year, my people skills got better.
Well, that's good.
But it's funny because I was so good.
Yeah.
And I know those people skills are what kind of got me the position I have now.
Okay.
But when I started now, it's like I'm starting all over.
Yeah.
In the meetings that I've had, more in the beginning, I'm getting out of it now.
Yeah.
But I was very quiet again. I started again, and I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
Like, what do I say? What do I do?
That's yeah. It's I think it's common when you're starting a new job,
Mhm.
when you're in a new aspect, because I definitely felt a similar transition. And I remember my old boss in my carpinteria job. He he told me one time we were like, doing stuff, and I was like one of the slowest guys to do stuff, and I still am a little bit slower on the aspects, right? But I remember one time we had this project that was running like a week behind. It wasn't super bad, but it was enough where it's like, do something, time to push it, right? And I was the guy that was always like on iMessage. I was like instant message, like, hey, did you do this? How you do this? And my boss came over to me one time and he was all like, hey man, you know that you can pick up the phone and just call him, right? And I was just like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, that probably worked better. And I was like, yeah, you're right. And then we just left it at that. I never called them. But,
Oh my gosh.
because
funny.
I was just like, I was not going to go through that experience. Like, I didn't feel like I had the confidence to converse with a person and be that, like, I don't even know if the SME is the right word, but just the person that's like, hey, like, did you do this yet? Why not? Oh, okay. It's very different now. And like you said, now with some more years of experience, you understand like that's a bigger portion of the job as a whole. So even the people that are like watching that are like in between that and they're like, oh, I know math and physics, I can get around it. You can get so far.
Yeah.
You can get so
Well, I
far.
know how to talk to people.
Yeah. Especially in both of your guys' roles, that seems to be a coordination effort role. There's just like, yes, the technical skills, the rules, the specs, all these stuff, but you also need to know how to get what you want, and that's like a really big portion of the job.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So that being said, what would you guys say are your favorite 3 things about civil engineering in college versus civil engineering as a position now?
Like actual civil engineering?
Yeah. So
Okay.
like in college, you had this perceived notion of civil engineering, right? What are your favorite things from that time that you're like, oh yeah, do you want your wine? You haven't drinking anything, man. Yeah.
I thought
And
we
now
were
we're
looking for it.
yeah,
That's
no,
fine.
almost
no.
done.
Move around, man. Yeah, I was like,
My 3 favorite things of civil engineering in college. Definitely just learning about how broad it can be. How I don't have to just choose one specific discipline in civil engineering. I don't know if this is related to civil engineering, but civil engineering, I feel like our department was so big, but there was like so many people, so it was like easy to make friends or make connections. So I really
Okay.
like that. And then this is also related to my school, but it's related to civil engineering. There was a lot of clubs, and I feel like a lot of the clubs were very informative in terms of like bringing out companies and them talking about what they do and like the internships they offer and like how you can get involved and all that stuff. So I like that. I felt like in civil engineering, for at least our school and our department, it was very informative, and if you had any questions, you can ask anyone. Like they would have alumni there from the companies talking about their experience even as students. So I really like that. I hope that answers your question.
It does. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lot of, there is one thing about the major, right? But a lot of it is like very the community you built from civil engineering.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think the one thing I really like about civil engineering, and this is more for both from school and now.
Okay.
Same thing, how broad it is. Just because, let's say I get tired of doing what I'm doing now, I could still go into I could go into design for structural or transportation. I could go back to construction. There's just a lot you can do. A lot. If I want to really design, there's a lot of VDC, like virtual stuff that you can use.
Yeah.
I could go into that, and it's all the same considered civil engineering.
Interesting. Okay, and then 2 other things.
No, I know.
He's like, those are my three.
Yeah, those are my three. No. But I mean, it. I think it opens up a very good conversation, right? Where, you enjoy what you do now, and like being able to have that almost like safety net of like, okay, I have these other avenues to pursue, right?
Mhm.
That's a very big thing of like most of the engineerings, right? Like mechanical and civil are similar in that aspects. Electrical, you don't learn as much about like, structural and things like that.
Mhm.
So you might through PCB stuff, right? But it's not really like the same flexibility where you can like kind of at least start in the general education of like one of these other fields and then grow upwards, right? So it's a really good point. um what other things about your professional, because I know you touched a lot on like school, like your professional specifically, would you say is some of your favorite aspects now?
Um, I kind of like the stress
Oh,
of the work.
okay.
Um,
That's one that you don't hear often.
I guess in construction, it's very very stressful
Okay.
because you're following a schedule.
Yeah.
You're always behind.
Yeah.
It always feels like you're behind.
Yeah.
For a while, I wasn't working. And I kind of noticed that I was missing the stress.
Oh.
And then right now that I'm
Yeah.
working from home, I miss being stressed or like just I miss the stress mainly because I guess it makes your day seem it's very different to the day the previous day.
Yeah.
Every day is always different, so
Yeah.
it keeps it interesting.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. That's a. It is a thought that it pushes your day forward, right? Where it's like you have those. It's almost like, and this is like the new portion of like jobs that are working with the computer, right? You get that hard day's work. You open a can of beer like after you do all that stuff, right? So, we don't really have that typical hard day's work mentality that was like back in the maybe like 50s or 40s or whenever that was, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 80s, whatever's. But we have this generation of work, and so I understand what you're coming from. It's like it feels rewarding to like complete your job, your day.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And then you have that ability to be like, fuck yeah, I deserve like a dinner or whatever you get. Yeah.
Shot. No, I'm
A
just
shot?
kidding.
Yeah, you need more wine?
Yes, please.
Yeah. And yes, I know, to the cogs that know me, yes, I did do dry January. Not really, but like not now.
We're still in January.
Yeah, I know. I went to Seattle and
Oh.
yeah, and I can't. I have to drink.
You have to.
Yeah, I was out.
Full experience.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I was out there, and my girlfriend and I, we went out to a couple bars, and Seattle's hella expensive. So
Is it?
yeah, and so we went to one bar, the first bar, and it's like we got 2 drinks, and they were like $50.
Shut
Each?
up.
Yeah, no, like total for
Oh,
both
okay.
drinks, right?
Oh.
So they were like, but like I was just like, damn, like if we go bar hopping, you go to 3 bars, you're gonna spend like easily like $150 each
Yeah.
person. I'm like,
Yeah.
for 3 drinks, that's insane.
That's
That's
wild.
crazy.
Yeah, or no, sorry, that was stupid. No, I can't do math.
No.
50. You're paying $150
For
for both
2
people,
people,
right? For
yeah.
3
Yeah.
drinks, yeah. So,
6
shit,
drinks.
dude. Yeah. Stop it. Math on the weekend.
It's okay. It's the wine.
Yeah, it's the wine. Yeah, we went, and so we were leaving each place, right? And my girlfriend, she's like, I don't really want to drink this anymore. I'm like, hell no.
You're
We're
gonna
chugging-
drink
yeah,
it.
yeah, I think this. So by the end of like I think our second day or first day there, I was blasted. I was like,
I'm dead.
done. Yeah, it was way too much.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I love Seattle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You love it, like
Yeah.
everything about it, or what?
I just like the vibes. I don't know. I like the vibes.
It's very woke.
Yeah.
Very
I guess. Yeah. I mean, sure.
Woke. No, you don't think so?
I think so.
How long ago did you go?
Oh, like almost 2 years ago.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
almost
lot.
2 years ago.
Oh,
I went for 3 days.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went 4 days, I think. Yeah.
I think that's a little too long.
There's not that much to do in
Yeah.
Seattle. One day we were like, fuck, what do we do?
Yeah.
We had like a dinner reservation. And we are like, what do we do?
What do we do
Like,
after
we're just
this?
walking, yeah, we're just walking around. We're like, didn't want to spend the money on drinks. We're like, sure.
You're like,
know? Yeah, but the coffee's good. The coffee seems amazing there. I love
Is
the
it?
coffee. Yeah, dude. Oh my gosh. We had, so one day, we wanted, like, we made a list together of all the things we wanted to do, right? First separate, and then we brought it together. Our coffee list was like 30 places.
oh my gosh.
We like decided on like what our top options are and stuff like that. And so like every day I had like 2 or 3 coffees. Crazy. And then
That's
one
wild.
day we went to, because like it was like I'd have a coffee in the morning, then we'd do something, then I'd have another coffee, and then like after that, like maybe in the evening I'd get another coffee, but like not usually, right? But one day we went where we went to one coffee spot that I really wanted to go to. I had a coffee there, and then she couldn't finish her coffee. So I was like, oh, hell no, I'll take that coffee. Right? And then we go to the other spot, and I get another coffee there to try it. And I like, dude, I shit you not, like, I was just like,
Were you cracked out?
yeah, I was cracked. I was just like,
I was
my
like,
head
oh
was
my gosh.
hurting. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't finish the third coffee. I felt
No?
so bad. Yeah.
I don't even know how you make
Yeah.
that many,
Yeah, dude.
that many coffees. I
Decaf.
could only do
Decaf,
one.
yeah. I should have done decaf, but yeah, it's super interesting because like that last coffee spot we went to that day, the second one in a row, it had beans from LA, from my favorite coffee shop in Korea. Like it's a Koreatown. No, it's Los Feliz. What am I saying? Jeez. Yeah, Maru. Yeah, it's the one I like to go
Oh,
to.
that's cool.
Yeah, do you like
Wow.
Maru?
No, I'm saying
Oh,
like
no?
it's cool that they had. I'm saying I'm saying it's cool that they had them over there.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, it was insane. It was very like Maru vibes. So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's so cool. Yeah,
Mm.
super interesting.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice. Nice.
Now let's talk about the ugly. You know, I'll push you guys forward on this one, but and you guys don't have to go into too much detail, but right, what did you hate the most about your college, your college experience with civil engineering,
Mhm.
and then again in your industry experience with your positions?
Mm.
You don't have to
Um,
shit talk your companies.
Okay, I mean, I wasn't gonna do that.
Yeah, sure.
So in college, I think what I didn't like was just how stressful the classes would get in terms of like when it would be like you'd have an exam and like let's say you have like exams on the same day and you have to study for them.
Oh yeah.
My gosh, the amount of stress.
Mm.
Like there was this one time where I thought I was failing this class, and it was during COVID, like right after COVID, but we still had to wear masks.
Mm.
I was literally crying in class, but you couldn't even tell because I had my mask on. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna fail this class. Like this guy hates me.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I was just like, I went out and like right after the end of class, I went to the bathroom. I started blowing my nose because I had so much snot in my mask. It was so gross. But I didn't fail. I passed.
Well, congratulations.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I mean, I'm
Holy
here
crap.
now.
Yeah, you made it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just did not like how stressful it could get. But other than that, I liked college. And then in terms of my job or my career or my work right now, I don't like the hours.
Okay.
The hours can be a little, it's not all the time, but
Mhm.
sometimes like we can work like 12-hour days, 10-hour days. And sometimes we work on weekends. And it's not fun because I'm like, dude, I have a life. Like,
Yeah.
excuse me.
Work-life balance.
Yeah. So, and it sucks because I'm salary. So it's just like, oh, okay. But I mean, it's construction. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But definitely just, I wish it had better work-life balance. That's the only thing for me about my job that I
And
don't
would you
really
say
like.
that's across the industry? Sorry, not to interrupt you.
Oh, no, you're good. Yes.
Oh, really?
I would say yes. I feel like if you work in construction, but doing like estimating or scheduling or pre-construction and stuff like that, I've never worked in those in the office doing that, but I feel like it has a little bit more work-life balance than when you work in the field, actually helping with the coordination of the project. You have not really work-life balance at all. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, that's very good. How about you?
For school, the thing I didn't like the most was COVID.
Yeah, that's true.
It was very hard for me to make
Yeah.
connections.
Very true.
A lot of the connections I made for school was literally right after I graduated. For some reason, all the civil and construction students got together on Discord.
Oh, no
Discord.
way.
And we like connected a lot right after.
Wow.
Because during school, I
Yeah.
knew very Very little
very
people.
little bit of things.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow, it's a very dark time,
Yeah.
and it does suck that it affected your schooling, but that sense of community was still there.
Mhm.
Huh.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's very cool and shitty. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know. Okay. Yeah. COVID. It sucked. What was your experience going to school with COVID then?
Horrible because it was from home,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
I'm not good at being at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I would fall asleep during
Oh.
a lot of my classes.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I would
yeah.
wake up and I was the only one on the Zoom.
Oh
It would happen a lot.
shit! It happens, and now it even happens working from home. Just kidding.
Cut this. No, I'm kidding. Okay.
No.
It does happen, actually.
Yeah, no. Don't say that. they'll watch.
He's kidding. He's
But yeah. But okay, that makes sense. In terms of now in the industry, you know, because like COVID came to not affect you once you're here, right? Like, because you still got a job and all these things. Or would you say that COVID had lasting effects on your professional career as well?
No, I think construction is one of those industries that doesn't really get affected by COVID.
Oh, okay.
So you're still working. You're outside. So
yeah,
you're still working.
yeah.
Mhm.
I think from what I heard, because my friend, we work in the same company. When she was working for the company during COVID, they just moved her to scheduling. So she just worked, I think she said she worked in the office, but there was like barely any people. So they just kind of moved people around.
Yeah.
But
They
a lot
kept
of them still
everyone.
had a job.
Yeah.
But I feel like the ones probably more affected would be the labor workers in terms
yeah.
of like maybe they weren't, their trade couldn't be on site because, you know, hey, COVID's here. You got to get out or something.
That's true.
But
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah. A lot of things were delayed.
yeah.
So I imagine it affected. I mean, you guys weren't professionals yet, you know, but I imagine that project management took a big hit and had to reschedule a lot. There were a lot of projects that were pushed back, things like that. Yeah.
So when I started, the biggest issue was getting material.
Okay.
Because a lot of other industries stopped manufacturing.
Yeah, exactly.
So now, if we wanted a valve or a fitting, usually it was supposed to take 2 weeks. Now it's taking 2-3 months.
Shit, dude.
Just to get
That's
it out, because
crazy.
there's a huge backlog of people just waiting for material.
Excuse me.
That was the hard part.
Yeah, that's where things can be make or break, and that's also it shows the pace at which you guys work at, right? Like 2 weeks compared to 2 months makes or breaks you, right? It's just like it's the pace that we live in today's society, and also the corporate greed that we push and all these things, right? That just has to be like, dude, why can't you finish this sooner? Like, why not, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. They can't get their shiny new building. Or no, actually, at your part, it was water sanitation, right?
Treatment plant.
Treatment plant.
Mhm.
Was that like specifically like treating like dirty water?
So that project was treating the chemicals in the water.
Okay.
So PFAS.
Okay, I don't know.
PFAS.
That. Yeah.
I don't even know either. To be honest, I should know.
Yeah.
It's a chemical in the water that you're not supposed to be drinking. So they created treatment plants so that the water could go through there, takes that chemical out back into the system.
Okay.
Mhm.
Interesting.
And it was for the city of Anaheim, so there was a lot of pressure to finish on time, just because a lot of big companies, like Disneyland,
Yeah.
they were waiting on us to
Really?
change their. I think they were getting water from somewhere else, and they were waiting for us to get the correct water or whatever.
Wow.
Because it would save it was saving the city of Anaheim millions.
Wow.
For the water to pass through our system.
Jeez.
So there was a lot of pressure to finish on time. They're still not finished, by the way.
I mean, no need to shit talk a little bit there.
That's not my issue
Yeah,
anymore.
no, he left, so it's not his fault that
not my
it's
fault.
late. It's not his fault. If anything, he would have saved that project.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny because it was a project for the city of Anaheim, and the biggest issue we had was getting permits approved by the city of Anaheim.
That's crazy.
You would think that they would have something similar to what you're doing now, right? To prepare all the permits prior to the start of the project.
It's
So,
for them. It's
yeah.
for them.
It's literally for them.
Yeah.
And they're their own worst enemy, I
They're
guess.
shooting themselves in the foot.
Literally, and they blame us.
Yeah, it happens.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah, that's yeah. If there's anything I learned, it's never the customer's fault. They'll always like push it upon everyone else in the industry. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
City of Anaheim. Sorry, bud.
I'm dead.
And now I'll probably, so this is because this segment is very new, right? I don't know how long it'll be watching. I think we got some good points all across. There's one last question that I think I'll close with, because we're pretty much like getting to that hour mark. But first of all, thank you so much for being on here. It's a huge how do I say, honor and respect I have for both of you. And yeah, you're both human beings, and you're both wonderful human beings. And I think that's where I want to make sure that people know, like, because the internet's pretty mean. So they'll like, we'll post this, and then like I haven't gotten too much hate. I've gotten hate here and there, but comments.
I'm gonna be there in the comments.
Yeah,
replying.
you should be like, fucking guy
Replying
like,
to
he's
each comment.
piece of shit. What's he talking about? But I think as you go throughout life, you kind of realize that, like, when you're in high school and deciding whether to do engineering or not, your entire life is high school, or your entire life is getting to college and like getting an engineering degree. When you're in college, your entire point is to finish college, graduate, get a job, right? But then once you graduate college and you have a job, you're kind of left with like no direct path, or at least that's the way I see it. I see life kind of like coming as a river, right? Where you started in kindergarten and the river kind of just pushes you out, and then there's a freaking waterfall and it drops you in the middle of the ocean. And now you can choose where to swim. There's a bunch of islands, right? And you can choose like, oh, I want to go get an MBA. I want to go down the CEO path. I want to go, freaking work for a nonprofit, right? There, like, you can swim anywhere, right? So this leads me to the final question that I am very curious about for everyone, in every human being that I've ever interacted with. And I think it's what do you want out of life? And it's a very vague question, right? And I think what you want out of your life really tells like where you're going, and what pushes you to do things every day. Some people haven't thought about it, right? And that's perfectly fine. But I think everyone has the opportunity to kind of see, what, this is kind of like what I enjoy, So what do you guys want out of your lives right now as professionals in engineering,
That's a great question.
yeah. There's no pressure to it.
What do I want out of life? I definitely want more time to myself, in terms of like just to being able to do like different hobbies, and just like explore new things, learn new things outside of work. That's one of the things where the thing that I don't like about my job is like the work-life balance, because it doesn't really give me that time to do all that. But that's something that I want out of life, is to like learn new things, try new hobbies, get out of my comfort zone. But also, like, since I'm in the industry, in the construction industry specifically, there's like not a lot of representation of women in there. So I also want to be that representation to other like younger women that want to go into it, and like inspire them to also pursue it as well. And I haven't been really involved in terms of like I know there's like women in construction like organizations that do reach out to younger students. I've been wanting to get involved, but I don't, because I just don't have the time. So it's hard to do that. But I don't know, like, I want a lot of things out of life, but that's one of the things that I do want to do, but I just haven't done. And definitely travel more. Travel more. Get a house. But not in this economy.
Makes sense.
I don't know. That's a very hard question, but that's gonna be my answer for
Yeah.
now.
I think that's a very beautiful answer. And yeah, we didn't touch on, women in STEM and your journey through that. Do you want to say anything about it?
I think like when you're in the industry, there are times I feel like where it can be hard in terms of like people listening to you. And it kind of sucks, but you just have to like not really let it affect you and just keep going. And then also just because you are a woman, I feel like I don't know, at least in my experience, I feel like people are nicer to me, which is cool.
Yeah.
They're not mean to me.
Yeah.
But I've had experiences where I have felt a little bit uncomfortable. But I'm just like, okay, like I just go through my day and I just try not to let it affect me. But I feel like you probably will experience, hopefully like they don't experience something like that. But it's just, it can be hard, but I do enjoy it.
Yeah. I totally get it. And yeah, it's a lot. Oh, this guy turned up. No, where'd you go? Okay, it's still recording. Sorry. Yeah, it's I think a lot of people have addressed it, and luckily today's day and age is a lot more aware of the situation. But it's important that everyone speaks their story and their truth. And yeah, thank you for sharing that, because as you go throughout it, and I'm sure you've had experience in college and in industry, right, that have been uncomfortable and have led to that feeling of like, yeah, they're nice to you, but they don't listen to you, right?
Yeah.
That I think perfectly sums up everything that I know personally people have gone through, where it's like, you're in a room full of like, men and machismo and like, that it just doesn't get through their heads that you have just as much right to be in that room as anyone else. Yeah, so thank you.
No problem. Yeah.
How about you, man? What was the question?
What do you want out of life? And this is like, I know it's hard because like I think we've probably spent a lot of time talking about this indirectly, where we've like, damn, I kind of want this, I kind of want to do this. We've talked about like wanting to go camping. We've talked about going a bike ride from like down here to Santa Monica. We've talked about all these things that we want to do in our lives. And yeah, I think the question is vague on purpose, because it's not supposed to limit you to your industry, not supposed to limit you to work or like, education, work, anything, right? It's truly what you as a person want to go, like, because there's so many aspects, and there's no right answer. There's no like there's no right answer even at this moment either, because like you can change in a week from now, right? And I truly believe that life's ever changing, but like I think it helps people relate to you when you're like, oh, you know what, like you're a human being and you want these things too,
Right. I guess to keep my answer simple, I want to be happy and just spend time with my loved ones.
Oh, okay.
Basically.
Yeah, I like that.
And be healthy.
Yeah, and be healthy.
Yes.
Yeah. I think that's
definitely be healthy.
Yeah.
I know back then we talked about going to the gym to get jacked.
Yeah.
Now
no.
I just want to go to the gym to be healthy, so I can wipe my ass when I'm old,
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, I think my friend Arturo also, I don't know if he watches, but shout out to Arturo if he gives it a little bit of a watch to this point. He told me one time, I told him like, damn dude, gotta start bien mamado.
Yeah.
He's like, nah dude, like just focus on like, just flowing and doing your things so that you can go through life without having to like struggle and be healthy.
Right.
And I think one of my favorite things for me personally, and the way that I related to that is when I would go around campus, I would go up the stairs. Then it was a lot of engineering stairs, and I was a hefty boy at that time. I was like 220 pounds.
Oh my god.
And yeah, and every time I'd go up the stairs, and it wasn't that many stairs. It must have been like, I don't know, like 2 flights. So it's like maybe like 30, 40 stairs. Yeah. Nothing crazy. And that was a big boy time. I remember that. So health is important. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, man.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Happiness is important, and whatever form that may take. You know,
Mhm.
there's so many forms that happiness takes in this life.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, guys, anything else that you guys want to say to a younger version of yourselves or someone out there that's considering being a project engineer or pursue civil engineering or anything like that?
Yes, I do.
Okay,
There's one
okay.
thing I want to
Oh,
say.
okay.
If you're failing your classes
Oh,
and you really want to do engineering, keep doing it.
Nah.
Even if anybody tells you you're probably not meant to be doing this, because when I was in community college, I failed physics 5 times. I went to 3 different schools for it, but I really wanted to do civil engineering or engineering in general. So I kept going until I finally passed. So you don't have to be good at at physics or math. So if you suck at it, just pass the class.
Yeah.
Even if it takes 5 tries, just pass it. If you really want to do it, just keep trying.
Yeah.
You'll get there eventually. Even if it takes an extra 2 years. It took me an extra 2 years because of that.
Yeah.
But
we're
here now.
Yeah.
And it was worth it.
Yeah, exactly. That's beautiful. That's true. Very good.
Advice. Good advice.
Yeah.
I would say don't be scared to try it. You won't know until you ever try. Just because I know when I was younger, I was always scared of it because of how people talked about it. But I tried it and I really liked it. And yes, I almost failed a class. But luckily I didn't. But I've known people that have failed, and like how he said, you just have to keep trying and keep going. Everyone has their own journey. Whether it takes you like 5 years, 4 years, 6 years, doesn't matter as long as you get there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, thank you both so much. Like I said before, it's a honor and a privilege to interview both. And thank you to anyone watching. Yeah, I don't know when I'm gonna release this. It'll take me a little bit of time to edit it, but I'm a lot better at it, so it won't take me like Bryce's podcast. It'll take me 3 years.
Oh my god.
So yeah. You know, but I don't know how to end this either. I haven't done this yet. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, please, if you enjoy this content. If you want to see more, I don't know, if you just want to see me interview a different industry or anything like that, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, leave a comment. If you hated it, leave a comment. Everything. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. And
thank you for having us.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's Cog time.
Yeah,
I really wanted to say that. I wanted to say that so bad.
You should say it at the same time.
Okay.
2, 3.
It's Cog time. Thank you. Bye bye.
Sounds like a game show.